Hello, and today I will speak a little about how to connect our AppToDo application that we did last time with the database and make some setup for the first time. We will change the most of them in the future, in future updates, because there are some frameworks that are not in TB today that I would like to implement and set up, like also the login feature, implementation of the login feature. But for now, let's only make a simple check if we can connect to the database, how to do that, and let's create a sample record from code. Why is this video important? Of course, because there are also some developer in TreasureBoat now. They are new to TreasureBoat and have no idea how to do that. So that's also one purpose. So let's go on. We have a few steps to do. One is we have to add frameworks. That means we have to add frameworks to the application so that we can access to the database. Then we have to create an empty database where we later put in our data. We have to make setup connections. That means how will the application speaks to the database. That will be done in properties. Then we have the first time also to configure the EOModels. That means we use the entity modeler and create the EOs. And then we make the EO generation files with the TreasureBoat templates the first time. Then we create the migration itself and we set up the migration, and then we run the application and see if it works. I hope it will work, because I haven't done a simple setup in a long time, but let's see how it goes. So that's the application from last time. I've only changed the title. It's the date from today, and lesson 2 is database. So let's add frameworks. So then let's go to Eclipse. In Eclipse we find, let me take a look. Okay, let me only swipe here that in a little. So that means in AppToDo we have in AppToDo we can here right click and with the build path, but before we go on, let's take a look what's in the TreasureBoat directly, what kind of database we have. There are two frameworks important. One is the property, where is it? TB prototypes. That's really important, so we can use prototypes in our application. More about that later. And then we have the connections to the database. So that means we have TBDB, that means TreasureBoat database. We have connection to DB2, Derby, Frontbase, H2, MaxDB, MySQL, OpenBase, Oracle, and PostgreSQL. Also, I have in my already prepared a new one. Will come a TBDB Microsoft for some Microsoft database. I forgot the name what it was, because I'm not using it, but it will be coming very soon here into this frameworks. For today we will use Frontbase, because I'm here using Frontbase. Also you could use something else. I use sometimes also MySQL, so it's not really a big deal. Frontbase and MySQL has already the driver included, and the other database currently not, but maybe let's see there will some more databases that will have already included driver setup, so to makes it easier. So, but for now, let's go to the AppToDo. Click on the right click, build bus, and configure the build bus. Then we get here the build bus setup. Currently, you can see here we have to go to libraries, and then we add libraries, and here we have the web object frameworks, and we go to next, and then let's go to TB. First we said it is TB prototypes. Let's check that, and then here in this setup I need TB front base. Finish is imported. Then let's go take a look at the order. Usually most of the time the order is not so very important, but sometimes when some frameworks you have to be careful, but only try to select both frameworks and bring it up over the Java one. That means this Java frameworks here created from Apple, and that's the JDBC stuff and other stuff inside. So it is 100% possible that we have overwritten some classes of that, because we try to override everything what we have and make it better. So that means you have prototypes and front base over sitting, but it can be below the other stuff. So that's it, and then you set OK, and that's usually this task add frameworks is now done. Let me make it to blue so that we see we are finished with that. Next step, we have to create an empty database. So I'm open the front base manager. Usually you can use the front base manager Java version. Most of the time I use the Java version, but I have a lot of databases in there, so to make it simple I started up the Objective-C version, so to have it clean here, and we can create a database. So that lets me create it. We set new, the localhost. What is the database name? It will be, because it's AppToDo database. Let's make it a simple database name. Startup database computer starts, and create it. Then let's wait a while. It should be created soon. Only the creation takes some time. I haven't really figured out why, but maybe the Objective-C application is already very old. But you can see the database is running, so we can connect. We connect with the system user, and we see we have a database table and nothing inside, everything an empty database. So let me give it a little to side. Let's go to the list. So that means we have created the empty database. That's done. Let me check that also. That's done. Next, we have to make the setup connection to the database, and that will be in properties. So let me go to the AppToDo. That should be in property. That means we have go into the resource folder. In the resource folder we have the property folder, and here we have, you can see two files. That's the database dot my username ishimoto.properties or database.production.properties. How does that get load? Let me only check in the, sorry, that was the wrong one, in the system set. If I go here in the system setup if go to user, then the user's short name cannot really see that here. Okay, but the user short name is Ishimoto, so that's why the username, in your case it would be your username and the properties. That means the application, if it starts up, it checks the username of the computer, and then it loads the database properties. So that means every developer, even if they work on the same project, can have his own database properties, and that makes it very easy. And this is for production, but that means it will not read automatically if you run this application on the server. You have to add on the Java command line configuration the username, and you set minus the username is production. In the Java monitor you can do that. I can show you that later in a future video if you have no idea, or you can contact me. For now, let me open this file. So we have here already created one, so that means let me add, let me check what we have to do. That means we have to, okay, we have to add the 2 lines of properties. First, we have to add the db connect URL global. That's the JDBC way to the front base. It's the localhost. That's the name of the application and parameters. That's the name of the application is the name of the database we have already created here. So it should be the same. Yes, it is. The connection user is the system, and we have not set any password, so that means the user is here done, and we can remove the password. That should be empty, and that's it. The password can set up for test purpose here simple in plain text. It can also set up in encrypted text. We come to that in a future episode. So that's this one. That means we have now done the property setup. Let me check this also too. Next will be, let's create the entity model, and then we make the generation file. Before we go on, let me only close it. The database already has a generation file that created from the template, but this time, to show how to set up this generation file, I will remove it. Let's delete it so that you can see how that will work. So let me open this EOModel. Before I open this EOModel, one application can have multiple EOModels. That means if it's a really complex application, you really can spread out your entities and your logic in different models. But for this application, we start of course with one EOModel, and that should be enough. Let me open the EOModel. Now here we have the EOModel, and here you can see how the EOModel looks. Let me only explain a little about this entity modeler. This is not it is not making the database. That means it is not connecting to front base or MySQL to create a database. It is a tool for modeling the entity, and I will explain a little bit about, because there are people who have never seen this. Here you can see models. Currently we have the AppToDo, that's the current model, and we have the prototype model. This model comes from the prototype framework, and each framework can have each model, and then you can have a big list of models, and model can link to different models, and it can be very complex. But for starting here, usually we need only this one simple model now. But To make it easier, you can also click here and you can hide other models. So let's do that. For the default connection, we have here GDBC. Later we will remove that, but for now let's only set the prototypes here. So that means front base prototypes, because we're using front base here, and change that to front base. And let me change that to up. DB, and the username is system. We really don't need this because we have everything in the properties, and the application will use this in connecting to the database. But for now, only that you can see there are also ways to use this configuration, and there are some cases where that can be useful. I let it now here. We come back to that later, but we have set the database, and then let's create our first entity. That means we create an entity. That means we have here this button for a new entity. So that means here we have the new entity, and let add a name. So that means, because it will be a to-do list, let's say it make it to-do. The table name is to-do, and the name is to-do. For the class name, there has to be where's the for the class name, we have here the AppToDo application. We have here the source folder, and you can see we have here a structure. So that means we try to put that into this structure. So for this, in the example, has org.TreasureBoat.app. That means we make mail like the org.TreasureBoat.app.io and put the EO files that we now create with this modeler into this package. So to do that, let me add to the class name the information, so that the EOModeler knows now that for this entity the package and the class name will be AppEOToDo. And don't forget that entities, because they will be Java classes, should be started with a big letter. The other features here, but we will speak not today about that, but there are some features you can set information about the entity. So let's take a look. We have created an entity, so it means we have already now an simple ID attribute, and let's create a new attribute. Let me add here 1, 2 attributes. Today we really make it simple. The first attribute will be a name. Only not name. Let's change it. Let's say a task. And here is now usually the setup. It can be sometimes really difficult because you have all kind of setup. It depends on the database. Oracle is different, front base is different, and to know what to do is not really easy. But at that time, it is very handy to use the prototypes. So use the prototypes and say the task will be an varchar 100, and it is set here. So that means it will be an varchar 100 in front base, and it used in Java the class string. And this will change depends on what your database you are using. Then we have here 4 important keys. The first one, like here for the ID, is that that's the primary key. You can see it here too. This is the primary key, and we have only this here set. The second one, this one is, if you can see, is it says that let's create access in the class. So that means you can access that from Java code. That means you can access the task and the current attribute it will make, but you will have no access in the class to do or for the property ID, for the name ID, because that will get handled by TreasureBoat itself. So just fine, so you don't access it and it cannot be a pain, or you can make a mistake here. The class property. The next one is used for logging. That means if we load records into the memory in the application, and before it saves, we can check if this is logged or not. For today, we will not speak about it, so let it like it is. We don't care. And the last one is allows null or not. So the ID should be here. The ID should be fine like that. It is used in logging, and it is the primary key. It is the prototype ID. We have the task. We have a task. Null is not allowed. We use it for logging, and we can access it. The next one for today is, let's make an date. For example, let's say that we'll due date. The due date, then we use it for logging. We use the class property, and we don't care. This null is not allowed. We have to set it. And we use the property a new one, but first to make it easier, because we haven't made the TB libs for that currently, so let me do it first. Where is it? The date, not the date, the date time, sorry, the date time for a timestamp, and that is now set up. We can, that means here once again, you create entities, you create attributes. Here we can create a relationship from one entity to the next entity. We will speak about in the future episode, because this application will grow and get bigger and bigger, and we speak about more and more in this tutorial. Then we have something about create fetch specification, the server stuff, and here for creating an index, database flatten, subclass and entity, verify the model. That we can do now. Let's check, and the EOModel will verify this model, and we have nothing. That's okay. That means we have no error and everything is fine. And then we have something for reverse engineering. We will come to some stuff later. Then this is for the SQL generation that we need that's why we need this guy. And then we have a migration helper. So let me only save that once. Save. So we have saved this, so that means the model EO with entity model is mostly done. So let me only do this. Then set up, okay, then maybe we do, because we have it open, no, do it like we have to do. So let me go back to this file. This is done, so let me close that. We have to create the EO generation file. So how to do that? First we have to take a look for the setup. If we usually go in Eclipse in the setup preferences, we can go to tblibs, and in tblibs you find the EO generator, and in the EO generator it is important. Currently it's important to set up your template folder. In future version, in tblibs update, we don't need that maybe anymore, but for now we have to show to this template for EO folder. If I look here in the TreasureBoat one, you can see in TreasureBoat folder we have a template for EO folder, and here are the templates for the EO generation. So in your make this pass and set it up. So if that's okay, then this is the first step to success. Next is we click on the EOModel again, and then with right click on the mouse we can go and go to tblibs tools, and here we create the EO generator file. You can see also here we can also have not only entity model, we can also make groups of entity models. So that means there are a lot stuff that can be done, but currently we make it simple. So let's create an EO generation file. After creation of this file, you can see we have here the AppToDo EO generation file. With double click, let's open it, and you can see how it is looks. Here important is we have that is automatically set up because we have created it now. Here you have the connection to the EOModel, and that means if you have more than one, then we can set it up here. The files are in Java, and the template folder is set up correctly. That's very good. And oh yeah, before I forgot, here we have the destination to generated EOs. That means we have here two folders, the generated EO source folder and the source folder, and we set this subclass destination to sources. So that means the subclass of the EO generated file should be here in app EO, and the other file should be in the generated EO folder. That is so can split it in two folders. Let's save this, close, and then we go to the EO generation file, and with right click we can EO generate that. Usually if the EO generation file is set up, before I go on and do that means in Eclipse, in the preference, in EO generation, in the entity modeler, let me see, there is some in build. Okay, sorry, in build, tblibs build, there is a checkmark for automatically run EO generator. If you have set that, that means every time you save the EOModel, that means if you open the EOModel to some change, save, it will create, and the EO generation file will run automatically, and the Java files get created automatically. But for now we have created by hand, because so you can see if you have problems how to create this file. So let me generate the file, and if you can see here now, the generated EO file has the packages app EO with the to-do file, and we have here also the EO with the to-do file. You can see the two differences. One is todo.java, that's the name, the same name like we have here, like here, and like the entity name, and the second one is underbar to-do Java. Let me open underbar to-do Java. We are currently on 7.1.3 version, and this is a template that is created by TreasureBoat, and don't change anything here, don't do anything here. This file get overwritten every time you save or change the database. Not the database, you change the model. If you change the model, these files get created every time new. So really we don't care anymore. It is here, we have set it, we have no error, everything is fine. Important is this to-do file. This to-do file here is everything set up for, and you can put your code, your logic here in the future. We will come to that and make a lot of changes. But for today, you can see this file is created. This file will not be replaced, and it's ready for use. So I will close it again. So that means we have created our files from the to-do model. So that means we have created generation file and we have done this step. Okay. Then let's create the migration files. Come back again to the EOModel and a little explanation. That is here's the Java front-based monitor. With creation of this model, it is nothing changed in the database. That means this is empty. This model is only to make to model the database, to make everything clean and nicely, and this model create the Java files and is the connection between Java and the database. So that's the file, that's the important stuff of this model file, and this model file is very powerful, but it has to be also in sync with the database, and to make your changes that you do in the model, you have also to make it in the database. For this purpose, it is very good if you use the migration, because with the migration you can update the database on the fly in the future. So that means even on deployment you can easily update to a newer version, and we come to that a little later. But for today you can see this. So let's create the migration. That means we have to go to the app migration. If you see, we have already a file, an AppToDo 0.java file. Let's open this file. I come to the little, let's speak about it now. AppToDo, this, the first name is the same name as the model file. That means AppToDo. That has to be the same file, and then we have a number, and this number we are starting today with the first migration. We're starting with 0, and with the next one it will be 1, 2, 3 and go upwards. So that means we can see what we have changed, and we will do that in future videos, but today we use this file 0. So open this file, you see everything is here. Now we have to create migration code. For this we can use the EOModel again. We select the to do, and then we click on this button, and we have the migration generation assistant. This is under work a little, because we will make more changes for TB libs and some stuff, because this ERX go away, but for now it is working. But here currently, because we have that already, you could copy out everything, make a class and do whatever, do it like this, but we have already this here, so that means we have only moved this out, copy, close that, and paste this in. So we have now, that's the migration, that's everything that is. It's very simple. So that means the application if we run the application later, that means the application will run, will look into the migration, take this file, run it, create the entries in the database, and it will finish here. The next time the application will run, because in the database has a flag that says, oh, we run already 0. That means next time we run the application, it compares the database with our model and say, we have the same number, we don't have to run, and this will not get executed anymore. Important to know is two commands here. One is the new table named, if we have a new table, and sometimes if we in future numbers we have not the new, we have the existing table, and because if you make a new table then you have an error because it's only for new table. This will create the table name, it will make the timestamp and everything here working, and then create the table itself and then set the primary key, and yeah, that's the migration stuff. We will change that, but for now it is fine. So that is this. What else is left? Let me see. Create migration files is done. Set up the migration. Okay, let's set up the migration. So that means we have to go to the properties again and migration properties. The template already creating some stuff for you, so it shouldn't be very difficult. First we have to set the migration at startup to true. Without that, migration will not start and no change in your database. The migration database model name is AppToDo, that's correct. And we have TreasureBoat app migration AppToDo. Okay, that's okay. So that means this is the class path of the migration. That means here TreasureBoat app migration and AppToDo without the number. So with this property, TreasureBoat knows which class to use, and with this prefix, that is the model. That means this is the model name, migration class prefix, and with this setup, the application knows, okay, for this model I have to use this migration to execute and do the work. So that's the migration. Let me only close what we don't need anymore. Okay, this looks fine. Then let's go back a little so that I can stop the application because it was running. Then let me run the application. It's run, application is booting, so that means we have a success, we have no error. Let me go to the front base model manager. Let's connect to system. Let's go to table, and you can see we have two tables. The to-do entity, if you open the definition, that is big again. Make the screen a little smaller. So here's the definition that is created from the migration script with the primary key setup, and we can also see connection. The connection, it says we have a due date, we have an ID, and we have a task. It's the same order like we have in the migration, and it's going on. And then we have a DB updater. This is created by TreasureBoat. That means if we open here the content, we can see the model name, AppToDo, and that's the update stage, the update log. That means we are on version 0. That means AppToDo 0 was running and is done. So that means now, next time the application is started up, it will take a look here in the database, see, oh, we are on 0. That means we don't run 0 anymore. And if we had, like, say, 1 in the database, then in the 1 in the code, that means 1 would run, and we updated here everything. So that means success, everything is fine. We have our first database connection. Before we go on and create one record only to test, let me remove that again. Let me see the reason first. Let me stop the application. Then let's go it away. We don't need that anymore. There are two reasons. One is I would like to change the date task from date time to a different one. Also, I will. There's one reason that I really don't like in this migration currently. It's fine, everything is working, but like you see, you have the due date, we have ID, and we have task. And if we take a look here again, and if you open the content, we have due date, ID, task. So that means it is alphabetic created from the model, EOModeler. And it could be later if the database is going big and the entity is going big. It is sometimes difficult if you have to go into the database to look up something, and then the ID field is maybe somewhere and you have to find the ID field, which ID you would like to change. I prefer to have the ID field at top. How to do that? It's very simple. That means after we have changed, copied and pasted this code here, that means let's change that. That means we move the ID field on top. That means let's create the ID field. Then let's create the database. We set the primary key. That's the to create the ID. We are done. And then we add, for example, the task first and then the due date. So with the ID and with created database, that means the database get created, we are done. So that means it will create the database in the data. It will create the data, the entity in the database, and then it will add attributes to the database. Now it will follow the order here that you have set up after the creation is done. So if we make the change like here and save this, then let's go to the front page modeler. Let me remove, delete the entities. So that means we are empty again. Okay. Then let's run the application again, only to take a quick look. It will start up, it will create the database. We are running. Let me close the other windows. Let's go to front page modeler again. We have here to do, if we open the content, you can see we have ID, task, and due date. So that means we have always ID at the first line, and that makes it much easier to take a look in the database. Maybe in future updates we can change the, in TB-libs we can change the migration generation to make that simpler for everybody. So we will do one more change. For the database, that's fine. Let me open TreasureBoat. So that means we are here, we have no data, everything is fine. That is cool. So let's go to the database. So here we don't change anything anymore. We have that. We have the timestamp. We have this all set up. We can close that. Migration is working. And we go to the EOModel, and now I make a simple change. For the due date, we don't use the date time, because the date time is used here, the NS timestamp. For a lot of application, NS timestamp is okay. That's the way that we used for years. But in future updates in TreasureBoat and most of them, NS timestamp is starting to die, and we move to TB datetime, and TB datetime is using the new TBF timestamp, and we use this one. So change to TB, everything is set up, everything is done. Last check, done, we are verified, we save. Of course, we have to terminate the application because we saved the Java files again, because the EO generation file was running, the Java file was creating, and now we have new Java files. The compiler had done, so that's why we have stopped the application now. The setup is here done. Let me close this. We have here now the main, and we have the main task. Let me add 2-3 lines of code. Action public w action result to test action return go to myself action, and here for now let's print out here to test action. Let's create a link, for example link, hyperlink action and a string, make it the short version, sample link, and the action will be do test action. Okay, so let's run the application again. Let me close the old one. We have the sample link. Let me clean out the log file here. So if I click now on the sample link, you can see in the log we are here, we are out. That means the sample link is working, and we can now create some code here. Let now change that to some code. Only try to add one entry into the database, for example. So make it very simple. So that means we make because it's a to-do, that means first for the first we need an editing context, and then we create an to-do. So let me to-do, that's the org TreasureBoat AppToDo. Make it simple, to-do dot create and insert instance with the editing context. Editing context. The editing context, Treasure for the TB component itself has already editing context. That means it creates the editing context for us, so we only have to access to the editing context, and we have the editing context here, and we create an insert create the create an instance and insert the instance into the editing context, and then we have a to-do Java class with the name of to-do. So with to-do, that means we have to set two attributes, because we had the due date and we had the task name. So that means we write to-do dot set task. The task name is for what, my first task, and then we have the to-do dot set due date, and that's an TBF timestamp. So we will say new TBF timestamp. That's it. That means a new TVM will date the now date, and then the set task is here set. And the last thing what we have to do is save that into the database. So that means we say editing context, editing context dot save changes. So that means editing context, the same editing context here, and we save the changes to the database, and this object get saved into the database. We did it. It's really only a simple step for now. We will do more in the future, but only that you can see how it works for test purpose. And okay, we have the serial version UID the text. We have decided that we remove that, so let's remove that. We don't need that anymore. Okay, everything is fine. Let me go to the link. Let me click on the link. We get the information, we did it. Let's take a look into the database, in TreasureBoat. Let's open the content, and we can see we have an ID, my first task with the due date. And it's working. I hope you enjoyed the first steps to connect to a database, created a migration, and did our first test. So that means we can go in future updates to the next step. And if you have questions, please let me know. You can find me on Slack. And yes, see you again. Bye bye.